Well, hey folks, as we watch this video of little J.J. Vallow playing outside of that apartment in Rexburg, Idaho, just before his death, I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about the Lori Vallow Daybell trial today. Before today, 18 witnesses had already testified. You know, it seems like the members of this cult are really hung up on numbers. So when in Rome, folks, here we go. 18 seems to be really important. 18 witnesses have testified thus far, and today, 18 became an important number again when police talked about seizing 18 mobile phones, many of them burner phones, from Lori Daybell's post office box. I mean, who on earth has 18 mobile phones? And frankly, what is a burner phone? Well, welcome to Profiling Evil and this update on today's trial out in Boise, Idaho. I'm coming to you from my ancestral home in Scotland, and I joined Vinnie Politan tonight on Court TV to talk about the interview that police had with Lori Vallow, now Daybell, immediately on that first visit. Now, our focus tonight is going to be on deflecting and the deflecting that's going on in this interview. And if you recall, Lori Vallow Daybell immediately launched into a litany of complaints about how poorly she was being treated, villainized by other people. You might recall her comments about how her husband was abusive, her brother was trying to kill her, and how everyone, in fact, was out to get her. Then she pulled out the big guns when she said, "I look like a suspect, but I'm a good person." Well, I'm not sure why prosecutors allowed this crummy audio to be played in the courtroom today, but they did. And they didn't simply just clean up the audio like I just did. They played the crummy version. I'm not sure why they didn't just give the judge, the jury, the defense, the original copy, and then a cleaned up version that made it a whole lot easier to understand. In fact, I hope when you listen to this, the version that I cleaned up, that it might be a lot easier for you to understand. I'm going to look forward to your comments down below, but let's listen in on that.
This is my body cam footage as myself and Lieutenant Ball approach the apartment number 175 the first time on the 26th.
Yeah, what is all this?
We're going to center.
Right.
Well, the officers who were here earlier were checking, and they got a chat by like something was going on here because nobody knew anything about a child. They weren't talking.
It's because a lot of stuff that was going on. If you're on, no, it's a lot of stuff. So,
Well, that's why we're concerned, because this was kind of weird.
it is very weird. I've had to move around a lot. One of my brothers is trying to kill me. Not the brother that was here, obviously. He's kind of my protector. My other brothers that was in with my husband, who was trying to kill me for my $2 million life insurance.
But now,
So a lot of stuff has gone on in this last year. It's been a horrible year for us. I've had to move around. And so I was going to move back to Arizona, put my son back into school there because I tried to put him in school here, public school at Kennedy.
okay.
He went for 2 months. We tried it, but he had such a hard time. Now, the person who called is my sister-in-law, but she's his natural grandmother. He's adopted by us. Okay, so her son, who is a drug addict, had a baby with a girl who's a drug addict, and they took him from, CPS took him, gave him to the grandmother. She came about him, and then she wanted us to adopt him, which we did. Loved the relationship. My husband and I, who died earlier this year. He passed away. Since he passed away, she's been trying to fight me for him and be really horrible to me and that kind of. Just kind of the paternal friend.
Okay, thank you.
That makes sense.
That's what I mean. The paternal grandmother.
He has autism and ADHD. He doesn't really talk to people. Like he's very special needs. So I had him in a special needs school there. She was trying to. What happened was, my husband, so we were married for 15 years and had raised all these 5 kids together. switched his life insurance policy to her, right? To his sister, who got $1 million when he died. And we got nothing. For me, raised DJ, all the kids got nothing, and everybody got nothing. She got $1 million. So I knew she was going to try to sue me for him or yeah, because she now has this $1 million. She can hire people to help him, and I have nothing.
But you have
Nothing.
legal custody.
He's my son. I adopted him. He was 2 years. We had him from the time he was 8 months old till 2 years old. So she does nothing unless to cause me trouble. So I don't tell people the truth about where we are and what we're doing because of those reasons. So I look like a suspect, but I am a good person. Raised all of my kids. I've done everything that I'm supposed to do in life. But everyone is causing me trouble right now.
You know, and I understand now that we've heard your side of the story.
It's awful. I feel like I'm being tracked all the time. Like, why are police coming to my door?
They said they were out visiting with 2 guys, and I assume that's your brother?
Who was this? Yeah.
Who was the other one? The other guy they were visiting with. There were 2. Well, we had 2 detectives over here trying to...
Looking for you a little while ago.
Oh, because I was at the store.
And they ran into... Well, probably one of your brothers.
My brother and his friend, probably.
Who's that?
Moving. Chad.
Chad from Rounder. What's his last name? Well, okay.
And it's just a mess. It's constantly causing me trouble.
Chad the D-A-Y-B-E-L?
He's an author.
Doesn't he live like out in the... Isn't that the Chad Daybell that... Didn't his wife pass away recently? Is that the underage?
I don't know.
But it is Chad D-A-Y-B-E-L.
But it sounds familiar as often.
I think I know one of his. He's got a couple of daughters.
No, he has lots of kids.
Okay. A bit safe. All right. Well, anything else?
Well, the reason another thing is because the brother that was going to kill me, that we found emails and texts with my husband at the time, came showing up here. So he found out where I was, and he was knocking on my door.
No, this was your brother? He showed up here and was knocking on your door.
And he lives in Kansas.
And you said something about you getting threatening emails?
Well, no. Just after my husband passed, I found emails and texts between them that they were planning all this stuff to get rid of me.
Do we need to worry about him come over?
Well, that's why I'm moving back. I'm leaving, and I'm not going to be in a place. I'm going to live with my friend, Melanie. Don't tell her.
Oh, you can call. Take care.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I just just a nightmare. I mean, I canceled the insurance policy since my husband passed, so there's no money if they can. And what are they going to do with JJ and Tyler? Like, what do people think?
Well, thanks for supporting Profiling Evil, and please hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell so you're getting all of our videos. Now, I was really surprised to learn today that Daybell had 18 burner phones hidden inside of her post office box. I don't know anybody, other than maybe the mobile phone company or that guy that's selling in a little kiosk down at the mall, that has 18 or more phones in their possession. I found it really interesting because most of those phones were burner phones, according to testimony. Now, you might be wondering, what is a burner phone and how do police get data from them? Now, according to most experts, burner phones are often used to conduct anonymous kinds of business. They're used to discreetly communicate with other people through voice or text, and they often use the same kind of device to internet search and to interact through mobile data. Now, they don't always want other people to know about it, and that's why they get these burner phones. And it's always interesting to me to know why people have purchased burner phones. Now, perhaps some of you would be willing to share your reasons if you do own a burner phone, and some of them might be absolutely legitimate. Things like it's a little less expensive than having to get a phone plan. But what really becomes interesting in this investigation is whether that was always the case for Daybell or Vallow when she was known, or Chad Daybell. Had they always had burner phones, or had they always had those more legitimate contract phones? And once they became an item, things changed and they started getting the burner phones. That's going to be really interesting to me because that is the kind of behavior that needs to come out in this trial. Now, getting a burner phone allows the user to have a disposable phone number, something that's really much more difficult to trace. And while it might be more difficult to trace, it's not impossible. You see, you actually can tie a burner phone to an individual. Burner phones are cheap. They're prepaid phones that people sometimes purchase when they want to remain anonymous. And oftentimes, they're tied to things like criminal activity, harassment, drug trafficking, other kinds of illegal activities. Burner phones can be made to make and receive anonymous phone calls and send anonymous text messages, so they'll often be used to harass people through text. And since these things are so dang cheap, they're really easy to discard. So I'm really interested as to why Lori would have hung on to 18 of them. That thing is still a little bit of a mystery to me, and I wonder what your thoughts are on that. Now, most people think that a burner phone isn't going to leave a digital footprint since they're purchased with cash usually, and the SIM card, the little identification card that has the phone number and other identifying numbers, are really hard to trace. Well, luckily, and in this case, it might prove damaging to Lori's defense, burner phones can be traced with specialized tools and equipment. Now, the common denominator is that all phones, even burner phones, access information through either internet service providers, cellular carriers, or virtual number operators that leave a digital footprint. Cellular carriers, for instance, have information for every text, phone call, and data link that's made. These interactions hold account information that reveals who the subscriber's identity is, and it's there that the investigators can interrogate the data and uncover information like who called the device, or what numbers were called from the device, what data usage was there, the text messages and internet searches, and of course the location information, which is really playing out important in this particular case. Now, you and I can't get this information on our own, but law enforcement can when they're investigating a criminal act like we're seeing unfold in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial. So I hope this helps you better understand burner phones and who devices belong to. Now, there's undoubtedly some of you out there that have these burner phones or these easy to dispose of phones. And I'm certainly not calling you a criminal. So please don't send me, kind of a mean note saying, hey, I've got one of those. But if you are someone who had one in the past for some nefarious reason, somewhere where you wanted to remain anonymous, I'd love you to enter your comments down below of why you got it and what you did with it, if you want to share it. And folks, be kind to each other on this one because we're asking something kind of personal, but maybe we can learn something together on it. Now, let's get back to the conversation that law enforcement had with Lori. And in the recording, remember, you could hear her deflecting every single question towards somebody else. I talked about these things on Court TV tonight with Vinnie Politan. I want to listen in on those conversations.
Wow, how about that? Still with us, nationally known psychotherapist Dr. Robbie Ludwig, forensic psychiatrist Dr. Carol Lieberman, also joining us tonight from Salt Lake City, Utah, religious cult expert, retired police commander, host of the Profiling Evil podcast, and author of Deceived. Mike King is with us. Great to see you, Mike. Mike, do you hear some projection there? Sounding like she's accusing others of what she's being accused of?
You know, I was never much into Shakespeare, but methinks thou dost protest too much. And it's often something that we see in these kinds of individuals where they deflect everything that's coming their way. And isn't it interesting, because if all of the other allegations prove true in the end, Vinny, everything she's saying would in fact be things that she was personally doing. This idea of money, I don't know how much my sister has in a life insurance policy, but I doubt that I'm the one named to be the beneficiary of it. So all of that just really is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, Dr. Carol Lieberman, what are you hearing when she's accusing her husband, who ends up getting shot by her brother, of conspiring with her other brother, the DJ, to kill her for insurance money.
Well, you know, it's interesting. The other brother, Adam Cox, he apparently was conspiring in a sense, but in a positive way, with her husband, because they were both very concerned about her mental health. They both thought that she was getting crazier and crazier, and they were planning an intervention. So these texts and emails that she's talking about, you know, there probably were those things, but they weren't talking about, you know, killing her. The plan wasn't, or the plot wasn't to kill her. It was to try to save her from herself, get her help.
Now, let's take a listen to more of Lori Vallow Daybell. This is, again, during that welfare check, November 26, 2019.
What happened was, my husband, when we were married for 18 years and had raised all these 5 kids together, switched his life insurance policy to her, right? To his sister, who got $1 million when he died, and we got nothing. For me to raise JJ, and all the kids got nothing, and everybody got nothing. She got $1 million. So I knew she was going to try to sue me for him, or she got us this $1 million. She can hire people to help, and I have nothing.
But you have legal custody.
He's my son. I adopted him. Right. He's 2 years. We had him from the time he was 8 months old till 2 years old. She does nothing that wants to cause me trouble.
Okay. What do you think of all this, Dr. Robbie? All of a sudden now it's Kay, JJ's grandma, who's causing all the problems here.
Yeah, so I think with Lori, she has a little bit of a paranoid personality where she is suspicious of other people. And this could be because she disowns some of the negative feelings that she has, the murderous feelings that she has. I also heard in this tape, after listening to it for a second time, Lori is somebody who doesn't feel recognized. She feels like she's raised 5 kids. She isn't noticed. She isn't happy. She isn't getting what she thought she should get. And so we see a little bit some of the reasons why she might have been vulnerable to someone like Chad, but definitely disowns any piece of herself that she identifies as bad and truly does project that onto another person in a very paranoid, delusional way.
So, Mike King, what I'm hearing here is a woman who very cognizant of money. I know in the last segment I was talking about husbands 3 and 4, very, very successful, good-looking guys, but, you know, Joseph Ryan did well. Charles Vallow did better than Joseph Ryan. It's like every husband was making more and more money. Then she meets Chad Daybell, doesn't have any money, so there's got to be another way to get it. And it looks like, it seems to me that these alleged murders, right? You know, it's got to be proven, but the motivation is the money and then the ability to be with the man she wants to be with, everybody else out of the way, and they get the money. It has nothing to do with God.
Yeah, and isn't that the interesting thing between normal personal relationships that we all have? Once we discover the warts, we still continue to work, we still continue to love. But instead, what we see happening is when all of a sudden her cup isn't being filled the way she wants it filled, then there's all of a sudden a change. And luckily for her, it always was something else that caused that change, her brother or somebody else. But she's the common denominator that it keeps coming back to, Vinny. And like you, I just continue to scratch my head because the money is going to be something that really is a nail in the coffin as they prove that she benefits each and every time. And boy, Kay really messed things up when she ended up with Charles pulling the trigger and moving the money to her. That completely blew the plan apart. And since we're talking what happened today, let me share one thing that really jumped out at me as the investigators revealed how many times Lori tried to buy those malachite rings that eventually ended up on hers and Chad's fingers when they were married in Hawaii. Now, this ties directly into those burner phones. So we're bringing it all back full circle now. Those phones that were recovered and forensically examined. Did you catch that part where they were talking about the searches that these two had made online? and the articles they were looking up, archangels and their signs and gemstones. I mean, to me, this was like watching junior high kids who are playing with a Ouija board, and they're psyching each other out and hyping each other up. Well, in this particular case, after studying the websites that they went to, I found that the Archangel Raphael, who's also known as the healer or heaven's physician, was the archangel of healing and abundance, according to the documents. Now, this character would heal other people physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And get this, even financially. His responsibilities were to assist others in doing things like overcoming addictions. And he could even help people find their soulmate. Now, here's where things get really spooky. The gemstone that this Archangel Raphael liked, according to online sources, is malachite. Isn't that an indication of how special these two must have felt they were? Well, what are your thoughts on this video, folks? I mean, we're going to continue to explore cult behaviors and try to make sense of all this that's been going on. And I hope that you're taking time to check out my Chad and Lori Daybell story map. It gives you some great information on the players in this case. I think you'd find it interesting, and you can find the link to it down below. And make sure, folks, that you're hitting that like and subscribe button so that you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And please consider joining our channel memberships. My favorite, it's the Academy level, where you get a whole lot more for just a little bit more. And your donation really helps us out, folks. It helps us to keep pushing out quality content. So from here in Scotland, I want to wish you all the very best. I'm traveling around the country checking out my ancestral home. And I hope you will check out Profiling Evil on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, here on YouTube. And you can also find Profiling Evil on your favorite podcast platform. So make sure you're checking us out. Hey, thanks again, and we'll see you all soon at the next crime scene.